I don't like reaction content. Don't like doing this, but John has paid for it.
Our beloved mercenaries. Let's hear it. Okay. Thank you one and all for your hard work fighting in the First Punic War. Would have been nice if you'd won. Maybe tried a little...
One thing I learned about mercenaries is I need to try them more often in EU4, yeah. Sorry, I will always pause and do my own commentary, because I want to be at least a little bit doing my self-content here. I don't want to be XQC, okay? I don't want to be... I'm trying to at least, you know.
This isn't the finger-pointing convention. I know you all have one thing on your minds. Hey, when are we all getting paid? Remember you lost your... Okay. Jim, you tell them. I'm not telling them, you tell them. Ugh. Look, you're not getting paid. What? We lost the First Punic War and owe the Romans a ton of reparations. Of course we can't pay you in full. Let's burn this place to the ground!
Oh, shit.
Hey, hey!
Why does it make me want to play EU4?
Burn this place to the ground? Come on, fellas. Will killing us really make you feel better about your money? Yes. Way to go, sir. Shut up, Jim. You're fired. I guess that makes two of us. Huh?
How's there still people left after the First Punic War?
Of the First Punic War, Carthage's disgruntled mercenaries, left unpaid for all their hard work, revolted, and Carthage found itself caught up in an extremely destructive mercenary war. The panicked Carthaginians hired more mercenaries to fight the mercenaries they couldn't afford to pay, and Carthage came dangerously close to collapse. All the while, across the water, there was Rome. Ha! Look at those morons. We just kicked their ass in the First Punic War, and now their own mercenaries are revolting. Haha. Yeah. Wait. First Punic War?
Makes me wonder, was there ever a EU4 mod about the antique? About antique times? There is a good one.
There's going to be a second one? Well, we're definitely taking advantage of this situation.
There's a big one?
So almost certainly, yes. The Romans did, in fact,
What's
take
Imperator
advantage
Rome?
of
What
the
is that?
situation.
What is
Amongst
that?
the chaos, rebels on the
EU4 even
Carthaginian
has a WoW
island
mod?
of Sardinia sent out a cry for help to Rome. Hot diggity dog, said the Romans. That's free real estate. And so in they went. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's our island. Get the hell off. Hey, they requested our help. We're simply
Thank you, Urde.
helping. Oh, no, you don't. Look, we're sending our own army to deal with the rebels, okay? We're not trying to start a fight with you, so, you know, don't declare war on us or anything. War! We surrender! Great. And as part of the peace treaty, we get to keep these islands.
GG.
Carthaginians were hopping
You
mad.
never listen?
As
No
if
one
their
ever sent me a
humiliating loss in
Discord
the First
DM about
Punic
this
War
mod?
wasn't bad enough. The Romans now took advantage of their mercenary problem and stole their islands. This shocking land grab was pretty hard to justify, even by Roman standards.
Why would they
Additionally,
care, though?
the Romans now demanded Carthage pay them even
Just
more
Imperator?
money
What
on
is
top
Imperator?
of what was already owed. If Rome was trying to make Carthage as mad as possible, they were doing a fantastic job. The seeds of a second Punic War were...
What I wonder now is, you guys obviously know all of this, how the fuck can there be a second Punic War? Carthage looks so fucked and looks so done. How can they even muster anything that can beat the Romans here?
being sown.
I wonder.
And they
Let's
were
take a
being
look.
watered with Carthaginian tears. Resentment in Carthage only continued to grow. Eventually, Carthage solved their mercenary problem thanks to Carthaginian military genius and hero of the First Punic War, Hamilcar Barca. He sorted those naughty mercenaries out with some good old-fashioned atrocities, and the destructive mercenary war was over.
Poor mercenaries, you don't get paid,
All
then you get
was not
fucking
well
killed.
in Carthage. Mere decades ago, they were the top dogs in the Western Mediterranean. Now, after the crushing defeat in the First Punic War and a huge bill to pay the
Man, I really want to
Romans,
play that one now.
Carthage was well and truly under Rome's thumb. What on earth were they supposed to do? If they wanted any chance at regaining their former strength, there was one thing they needed now, more than anything: money. But as long as they owed Rome $1 bazillion, there was nothing they could do. Amongst their ranks, there was one big hunk of a man with one big clump of a brain. Me! Hamilcar Barca! Yes! Wait, why do you all have the exact same voice? I have it too! That's right. Hero of the First Punic War.
Thank you, Rando. Thank you,
Greatest
sir.
general alive. And the poster above my bed. Hamilcar Barca had an idea. All right. We need money? Well, I've got one word for you. Spain. An area filled with lucrative silver mines, from which the silver would flow like a river, and our pockets would be stuffed, like Tony's mother at a buffet. Hey! So here's my proposal. You send me with an army to Spain. I'll expand our territory, get those silver mines up and running, and we'll be able to pay the Romans back.
Damn, he's actually very intelligent.
Okay, but just to check, you're not secretly raising the money to go on a bloodthirsty revenge spree against Rome, are you? Because we can't afford that. Hanno, my dear, I'm simply going to pay them back. Well, that was
Jim.
Few in Carthage were as bitter about their loss in the First Punic War as Hamilcar Barca. 98% of his brain matter had been reallocated to thoughts of revenge.
I get him.
He was also fed up with the Carthaginian politicians for what he deemed a cowardly betrayal when they surrendered at the end of the last war. And so for Hamilcar, going to Spain meant being able to act independently from the weak Carthaginian government, building his own strength, and then perhaps somewhere down the line, revenge. However, he wasn't going to Spain by himself. Hannibal? Yes, father?
Oh,
would you like to come with me to build an empire in Spain? Oh boy, would I! Barbara, mind if I take our 9-year-old son with me? I want to implant an intense hatred of Rome in him and prepare him for a glorious campaign of vengeance. Just try not to traumatize him, dear. No promises. The young boy Hannibal would accompany his father. Watching, learning. Boy, you see that city over there?
This editing is so sick,
father?
man.
That is Rome. Do you know what we do to Romans? No, father. We hate them, Hannibal. We hate them with every fiber of our being. But why, father? Can't I just play with my Digimons? No, son! They took everything from us. Our land, our wealth, our pride. Those animals. I'll tear them.
Thank you, Linux. Thank you.
I'll burn their pathetic city to the
Tommy's
ground.
kid in the future.
Dad? I'm sorry, son. I've just never been so proud. Keep going.
Tommy telling his son about Terran players.
I'll cut off their faces and wear them as masks.
I lost to the Terran when I played off stream.
After taking Hannibal to the Temple of Baal and having him swear an oath never to be a friend of Rome, off dad and son went for their lovely beach holiday in Spain. But Spain was already inhabited by many tribespeople, and when Hamilcar suddenly showed up in their territory, they were like, "Hey, who the hell are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm teaching my son how to become a warrior like me." Aw, well that's sweet. Well then, little guy, let's see what you got. Good boy. As Hamilcar got to work fighting the tribes of Iberia and expanding Carthage...
I feel so dirty being in the bottom left corner of your screen and I just don't do anything. It's so hard for me. I'm trying, but I might just watch one video and then we watch the other one tomorrow or something.
Hannibal became a child of war.
How can all these streamers react so
from
much,
a young age.
Fucking lazy.
He grew to become a great military leader himself, making his father very proud. I love you so much, son. Dad!
Is it like a historical picture? Not really, like someone painting him? Oh, there is a bust of him. Ah. The Capuans made a bust of him. Ah. Oh, spoilers. Oh, wait. No spoilers.
The enemy.
Hannibal Barca, Messi. Oh.
You killed that guy so well, son. The Barcas successfully consolidated Carthaginian power, got those silver mines up and running, and were sending buckets of cash back to a money-starved Carthage. And symbolizing Carthage's regrowing strength, a beautiful new city would eventually be founded in Spain. New Carthage, with a magnificent palace at its center. Carthage is...
This makes me really want to play a Paradox game and play Carthage.
Back, baby! What in the name of Apollo is going on here? Ah, Romans! Flowing silver mines? Dancing elephants? What are you up to, Hamilcar? I'm simply gathering the money to pay you back. Oh. Well, okay then. Or are you rebuilding strength to go on a bloodthirsty revenge spree? Like I said, Claudius, I'm simply trying to pay you back. Aw. You guys are hugging. No, we're not.
Okay,
I was.
Thank you, Triple Nut. Is Carthage formable in CK3 or CK2? The problem with Crusader Kings is if you play North Africa, they're all Muslims. And I think there's a chance to bring Carthage back, but it's very hard because everything is under Muslim rule.
Hamilcar had
very hard to
carved
do.
out a kingdom for himself in Spain, free from the meddling Carthaginian politicians. His power was becoming immense. But Dad, yes, my son? I'm confused. Are we really simply paying the Romans back? We're not gonna go on a bloodthirsty revenge spree? Of course we are. I'm just saying that to get the Romans off our backs. Listen, here's the most important life lesson I have for you. Vengeance is everything. An all-encompassing thirst for vengeance is great for your mental health. Are you still confused? No, I get it now. But what if the Romans find
make
out
it
what we're up
Hellenic?
to?
That's
they
weird.
won't find out. Why? Well, Hannibal, because I use NordVPNs with
You
their
don't seem so interested. What the fuck you want me to do? You want me to sit here like, oh, what the fuck you want me to do? Actually, never
Carthaginian
dream about the
tears,
stream, never.
A child of war and the Carthaginian conquest of Spain. The Carthaginian recovery had been staggeringly quick, and Rome was seriously alarmed. But they were also preoccupied with ongoing wars elsewhere, including an expansionist war to the north, where they were enslaving thousands of northern Celts. So for now, to keep Carthage in check, the Romans insisted on a new treaty. See this river? The two sides agreed that everything above it was in Rome's sphere of influence, while beneath it was Carthage. Under no
I remember that in Imperator Rome, this was like Hellenic stuff. This stuff was like Greek shit or something. I remember.
circumstances,
But I don't know
were
shit
the
about this
Carthaginians to
period of
expand
history.
north of that river. But for now, Hamilcar and son were living it up.
Greek colonies.
Well, son, here's to many more years of successful campaigning in Spain. Now, if you'll excuse me,
I'm just
I
gonna
just
die.
have to go fight those guys.
Oh.
See you later, son. I love you.
And he's dead.
What the? Oh, crap. I drowned? Oh, well. Always remember, son. You are vengeance. Also, delete my browsing history. Hamilcar Barca was tragically ambushed at a river.
What a cool picture, man. Damn, look at that. I love pictures like that, man. I think they're so cool.
And drowned. His son-in-law, and possibly also his lover, no further questions, took charge for a while. But he too was later assassinated, leaving finally a 26-year-old Hannibal in charge of the Carthaginian armies
AI
in
picture
Spain.
looks cool though.
Sources say the men readily accepted him as their leader.
All these guys are
He
so ripped.
chose
Well, you only fucking move all day and there's no McDonald's. It makes sense they're ripped.
to suffer the same hardships as his men. He lived in the same conditions, was often the first into battle and the last one out. And it also helped that he looked a lot like his dad. He had the total respect of his men. If he said jump, they said how high. If he said tuck me in, they said how tight. If he said talk to a girl
Thank you,
without
Hash.
peeing your pants,
Thank
they
you,
said
sir.
that's impossible. Nobody can do that.
Just like
An
Tommy's
army that would
Bannerlord
follow
character.
him
You guys remember
anywhere
Bannerlord, guys?
Would be crucial for exacting his vengeance against Rome. Hannibal's army had become a strong
shit.
and loyal fighting force, and that was making a certain nation very uncomfortable. Seeing Carthage re-strengthen so quickly was not something Rome had expected, yet here they were, paying off their debts and expanding their territory. It didn't feel very much like Carthage was under Rome's thumb at all, and Rome wanted to put an end to it. Tensions were strung tighter than your liar's G-string, and all it would take was one incident to trigger all-out war. And in 219 BC, a city in Spain would find itself at the very center of that fateful incident, Saguntum. Remember that treaty declaring everything south of this river to be Carthage's sphere of influence? Well, Saguntum should therefore obviously be Carthaginian, right? Wrong! Saguntum had actually scored itself an informal alliance with Rome after Rome had helped
Oh,
it
it's like a really annoying roleplay player where you're like, I can crush this guy, but he now made friends with Hitler,
with
Germany.
an internal dispute. With Carthaginian encroachment, Saguntum began to fear for its independence.
you, Nighthawk.
And
Best
Rome
content on Twitch.
declared itself
I hate reacting.
Saguntum's protector. But this clearly went against the Ebro River Treaty. So what on earth was
It's a Kiel
Rome
moment.
doing? Were the
It's a Kiel
Saguntines
moment.
and the Romans truly just BFFs? It's possible. Or was Rome deliberately trying to interfere with Hannibal's Spanish expansion and maintain a staging post for a future war with Carthage? More likely. And Hannibal certainly
fucking
viewed this
pictures, man.
Rome-Saguntum alliance as an outrage. Yet another example of Roman arrogance. At first, he left Saguntum alone. But having learnt from his father to hate all things Roman, and having inherited his father's dream of bringing Rome to its knees more and more, Hannibal may have begun to see Saguntum as an opportunity. Could this controversial alliance be just what devilish little Hannibal needed to kickstart a second war with Rome and restore Carthaginian dominance? It's even possible that Rome were also using Saguntum to goad Hannibal into a fight so they could go and kick him out of Spain. And as the two giants began gearing up for round 2, the poor people of Saguntum had no idea that they were about to be crushed in the collision. Hey, your alliance with Saguntum is an insult, and we won't stand for it. They're our friends, Hannibal, and if you lay a finger on them, it'll be an act of war. Yeah, Hannibal, back the hell off. War, eh? I was thinking I might just besiege their city and massacre their people. I hope you do, Hannibal. Find out what happens. Yeah, we hope you do, Hannibal. Wait, what? Maybe I will. Go ahead. Kill them all. Okay then. Fine. Okay, guess I'll do just that. Consul? We look forward to it. Consul? You're gonna protect us though, right, Consul? Consul! Oh no! To top it all off, when the Saguntine people made the genius decision of raiding into Carthaginian
This is like me in any Paradox game. I never protect my allies.
territory, enough was enough.
Uh-oh.
In an action that was guaranteed to provoke the Romans into war, Hannibal besieged the city. The Siege of Saguntum lasted 8 cruel months before Hannibal broke through the city defenses and turned Saguntum
1 month.
into a killing field.
Oh shit.
It was a massacre. What the hell? Tell me I didn't just catch you massacring our friends, the Saguntines. Well, Consul, if you like,
Look at these nuts.
perhaps you should suck on these nuts.
Come on, bro. Come on.
Hearing word
Totally
of the
stole that
attack
like
on
I'm stealing his
Saguntum,
content.
Rome was understandably in an uproar, and all eyes were now fixated on what would happen next, as Rome sent a delegation to Carthage, led by one of the most highly esteemed Roman senators,
Kill him instantly.
Fabius Maximus.
Oh shit.
He demanded an answer for Hannibal's sins. All right, listen up, scum. You've got a rogue general in Spain attacking a Roman ally. What are we supposed to do about it? Well, there shouldn't have even been a Roman ally in Spain. You're the aggressor here. Hand Hannibal over to us as a criminal. So
I'm kind of rooting for Carthage here, but I think they get wrecked, right?
No. Look, I hold in the folds of my toga both peace and war. Which one should I let drop? Whichever one.
He actually
you
said
want, then I choose.
One
The
total war
Second
soundtrack.
Punic War had begun.
I feel like Rome should have just had spies in Carthage and really make sure they don't expand to Spain. But I guess the main historical reason of this happening is the arrogance of Rome not seeing what is about to happen in Spain.
Get up, boys. We've got him. We already destroyed these clowns once, and we were the underdogs. Now, we're the overdogs? Hot dogs. Exactly.
I mean, which
This
city
is gonna
exists
be
today?
Z. Here's the plan. Consul Longus, you take your army and sail straight for Carthage. Burn that city to the ground. And Consul
Mike.
Scipio, you just head on over to Iberia and make sure this Hannibal guy doesn't do anything crazy.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
dude.
what's he gonna do? Cross the Alps? We're going to.
What I think is always the most interesting thing is that there was once a human brain that really existed that made the decision to cross the Alps. He made the decision, and you and me talk about it 2,500 years later, and I think that's so gangster. If your brain is so important to the human history that people talk about it 2,000 years later, I think even if you lose in the end, right? I think it's so gangster.
What? Cross the Alps.
What an
We're
influential human being
going
you have to be.
What?
The people still talk about
I
you like
just
this.
told you, Hannibal will freeze to death. The Romans are expecting us to fight the same way we did last time, passively, taking no initiative.
A Russian general crossed the Alps in the Napoleon Wars. Unluckily, nobody remembers
so
him.
this time, we have to be aggressive. We have to go on the attack. It sickens me to say this, but this time, we have to be a little more Roman. You mean we're gonna take poops and baths together? But I'm insecure about my hairy legs.
Nice.
No, I'm saying this time, we're gonna take the fight to them. Think about it.
I'm kind of busy reacting right now.
They're simply going to invade us and win the war. So when they suddenly find themselves being invaded from the north, they'll freak out.
Kind of genius, but
like
I think
Tony's
he
mother,
didn't know what a
when the
mountain
buffet
is.
runs out of shrimp. Hey, I got to admit, it's actually kind of genius. And my hairy legs will insulate me from the cold. That's the spirit.
Couldn't they have taken a boat from like Marseille into Savoy or some shit?
Spear and my legs. Ugh. Hannibal's plan, a daring Alpine trek to surprise the Romans, was a bold but...
What ships? Like build ships and go like this? I'm telling you, if TommyKay was a military leader 3,000 years ago, you will hear from me nowadays.
Risky strategy. If it paid off, he could catch the Romans with their pants down, but he could also end up losing a ton of men and supplies in the hostile mountain conditions. Nevertheless, in 218
As
BC,
if the whole Roman
with
Navy
a
is
fire
in the
eyes
northwest, you
and
muppets.
some vengeance in his belly, Hannibal brought his force of almost 100,000 men across the Ebro River. They spent months on the road, trekking
that
through the
sounds
cold,
bad.
hostile mountain conditions.
I don't know
And
if
when
that's
they finally
so
reached
clever.
the other side, they said, "Hooray, we did it!
I don't know if that's clever.
We crossed the Alps." No, those were the period.
If I would have been Hannibal, I would have actually protected our homeland and do a war for attrition. Knowing that there's the Illyrian War and the Celtic tribes in the north, this could actually bring down the Romans more efficiently. I would have done differently. Yep.
Knees. Those are the Alps.
I've been driving through the Alps. You don't want to walk through that shit.
The army then had to pass through southern Gaul.
That's how they lost the first war?
Territory filled with tribespeople.
Yeah, but Hannibal has 100,000 men, and they're apparently not mercenaries.
Were hostile to Hannibal's presence.
Oh,
His
shit.
journey to the Alps was an ordeal in itself.
That's
as
a
he
flag,
was forced
dude.
to fight his way through and incurred pretty hefty losses before even reaching the mountains.
Oh, God, oh, God, oh,
His
God.
plan was almost stopped in its
But will that
tracks
make a good story
entirely
2,000 years
as
later?
The Roman consul Scipio, on his way to Iberia,
Scipio, isn't he like a
discovered
thing in Total
Hannibal
War?
was right on his doorstep. Suddenly, Hannibal's journey became a race as he rushed to get his massive army across the vast Rhone River before the Romans could intercept him. The crossing was chaotic, with the panicking elephants causing several men to drown. And the first combat of the war occurred when small scouting parties from each side encountered one another. When Scipio finally caught up to Hannibal's position, what he found...
One thing you gotta say about Romans, they have one of the sickest flag in human history, man. What a fucking sick flag. Dude, you're a Roman soldier, man, you see that flag, you're like, fuck, that makes me proud. Imagine you're walking, man, and you have like a Romanian flag, like that fucking weird-ass blue, shitty, red-yellow, man. It's like, what the fuck, looks like a trash can. But that's a good flag.
Found was an empty Carthaginian camp. Hannibal had slipped through his fingers. The Roman consul Scipio...
There was no flag, there was a stand. Maybe that's why you're single, you fucking weirdo.
Felt the weight of the situation. Quite unbelievably, Hannibal was going to cross the Alps into Italy,
Jesus.
and the Romans had no idea where he would emerge.
This fucking mad lad.
For the first time, a Carthaginian force had the Roman homeland under threat. Scipio sent his men onto Iberia as planned, but he himself rushed home to raise a new army so that
Chad,
if
what's your favorite
Hannibal
flag in
survived
history?
the crossing, Scipio would be there, waiting. Would you look at that, boys? We're here. The Alps.
Oh, that must have sucked so
Although
much.
It is a little later than I expected.
That must have
Yeah, it's
sucked.
kind of chilly. We'll set up camp here and wait for spring, right? It's way too cold, right? Hannibal?
So wasn't Hannibal just really kind of a retard,
Hannibal's
man?
famous crossing of the Alps was brutal. It was already autumn, and the men suffered terribly. It was cold. Men would fall off the sides of icy cliffs. They starved. They fell
Imagine
off the
being part of
sides
that, man.
icy
That must have
cliffs.
sucked.
Some sources say they had to eat their pack animals and would finish off dying comrades in order to take their clothes for extra warmth. And then they would fall off the sides of icy cliffs. Imagine an army of 50,000 men with all of their horses, supplies, and 37 elephants trying to navigate the most hostile mountain range.
How did
in
they know
Europe.
37, man? That's
And
very
it wasn't
exact.
just nature that they were up against. Tribespeople lived in the mountains, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
Fucking
A
sand
tribe
people.
approached Hannibal and said, "Hey man,
Sacre
he's
bleu."
got some nice armor. What is that, gold?"
Here's a picture of that. Nice picture, thank you. That looks... Thank you.
Man, I'd really like
Nice.
that armor. Hey boss, they've got food as well. Shut up. Be cool. Hey,
You can figure out the temperature of the point. I'm no, I was talking about the temperature. I'm talking about 37 elephants, man.
Gorge.
They had very old cameras back then. Yeah.
Just walk right on through there. We're not gonna kill you. It's just right this way. We're not gonna kill you. Hannibal's army were forced to fight their way through the gorge as massive boulders rained down
whole
on
plan
them
seemed
from
retarded.
above. Some clever reorganization of his line helped them survive, and they were able to fend off the opportunistic tribes. But losses from the constant attacks were heavy. As the journey continued, men who went over the sides would get stuck on the ice sheets below and had to make a grisly choice between starving to death or just getting it over with. When the deeply demoralized army reached the summit and rested for a couple days, Hannibal tried to lift their spirits with a rousing speech. Look, men, down there, it's Rome. These plains stretching out in front of you are bountiful with food to eat and Romans to kill. Move, Bessie! Look, you have just climbed the walls of Rome. The hard part is over. From here on out, it's all downhill, and nobody else will die. Except for them. The rest of us here, no one dies. Starting now. Okay, let's go. Oh, for goodness sake! As it turned out, the descent was as deadly as the way up. With the cold really starting to set in, the path became even more narrow, and at one point,
I'm cringing at Hannibal here. I'm cringing, man.
Freezing cold.
Guys, cringe.
A collapsed road. When they finally reached the bottom, Hannibal said, "Look, guys, we did it." Well, I thought it went really well. When Hannibal left Spain,
Where are the
he had
reactions?
about
I don't know,
100,000
man.
men. By the time he reached the Italian plains, his numbers had dwindled to about 26,000. He was now caught in enemy territory, without a supply line or source of reinforcements. And any elephants who had survived to this point were almost certainly traumatized. So what on earth
Fucking
was
elephants in the
Hannibal up
Alps,
to?
dude.
This supposed military genius had just led a starving and weakened army right
Supplies
into
everything,
enemy
guys.
territory. Any modern general who lost half their men to mountains would be immediately fired and possibly even depantsed on live TV. Here's the thing. While Hannibal may not have planned on losing quite so many men, he had almost certainly expected considerable losses, and he always had a plan for how to replace them. Need men? Northern Italy was full of men. Big, burly Celtic men. All the men Hannibal would ever need to beat off Rome. These Celts were filled with resentment, having only recently been conquered by
Okay,
Rome.
that's actually clever. Okay.
Hannibal
okay.
hoped to be seen as a liberator, convince the Celts to cut ties with Rome, and instead join him in crushing Rome. That way, he could gain a source of reinforcements and supplies.
Your actual build ships.
Right?
I mean, what's better, losing 70,000 men or building a bunch of fucking ships, man, and going like, wheat, wheat, wheat.
In Rome's backyard. But sir, in order to win the loyalty of the Celts, we would need to make a seriously favorable impression on them. How do we get them to like us? Kill them. One of Hannibal's first actions in Italy was to obliterate a nearby tribe who wouldn't join him. This sent a clear message to all the other tribes. It was his wrath they should fear, not Rome's. The realization that a Carthaginian army had just invaded them must have been shocking for the Romans. But when they looked at this ragtag group broken by the Alps, they couldn't have felt very intimidated. However, Hannibal was now in Italy, and he was about to embark on one of the most astonishing military campaigns in all of human history. The Romans may not have known it yet, but there was now a monster loose in their territory, and he was vying for Roman blood.
Wow. What are you still doing here, mate? Jeez. Well, if you want to see more, click these videos. Have fun. Looking good, boy.